After months of circling, James Packer has finally made his move to take control of Sydney's Star Casino. It comes 2 weeks after Rupert Murdoch's News Limited made a takeover offer for James Packer's largest remaining media asset, Consolidated Media Holdings. It's a big shift for one of Australia's oldest media dynasties, and it needs all the political muscle James Packer can muster. Some observers think it's a smart and well-timed investment move, but others believe it's an unfolding tragedy. Greg Hoy reports.
The century-old and powerful Packer media dynasty is radically changing its tune. Supported by his wife, the singer and model Erica Packer, the fourth-generation Packer patriarch, 45-year-old James, is moving to sell to Rupert Murdoch his largest remaining family jewel, the pay TV company Consolidated Media, using the $1 billion proceeds to follow his dream, seeking today to more than double his shareholding in the key competitor to his Crown casinos, with the aim of expanding beyond Victoria and Western Australia to dominate casinos nationally and compete vigorously overseas.
This is my biggest business interest by far. My dad used to say to me that I was a bigger gambler than him because he thought I was a bigger gambler in business.
James Packer declined to be interviewed. There is strong debate over his latest strategy.
With the media space fragmenting, this is a long-run, clever, a strategic move into a more cash-generating business.
City of Dreams. For a while, his investment dream became a nightmare, with estimated losses to the Packer fortune of $1.2 billion in Las Vegas, but a 34% stake in Melco Crown's City of Dreams in Chinese Macau is slowly turning into a jackpot, as James Packer boasted on his family's former television network.
We made some bad investments in America. Now, fortunately, I think, we're going to make a lot more money in China than we lost in America.
Emboldened, James Packer splashed $256 million to capture 10% of his major casino rival in Australia, the Echo Group. With news today, he's applied to raise this stake to 25%, claiming Echo was mismanaged. With a brutal barrage of criticism, Mr Packer triumphantly forced the resignation of Echo's chairman, John Story.
A majority of the directors panicked and executed the independent chairman at the behest of a competitor and predator. It's just extraordinary.
James Packer pushed for Jeff Kennett as a replacement independent chairman, but the former Victorian Premier, whose government had approved Crown's casino in Melbourne, reportedly awaited the outcome of the Echo drama aboard the Packers' luxury yacht off the far-distant Italian resort of Capri.
It is bizarre that James Packer is promoting and supporting Jeff Kennett, claiming he would be an independent director. At the same time, he's being entertained on his yacht off the Italian coast. I mean, that is just ridiculous.
Upping the ante today, it's not just what Echo already has that's of great strategic importance to the Packer Crown. Echo has casino licences in Townsville, on the Gold Coast, but more importantly in Sydney and Brisbane, where James Packer hopes to build 2 new casinos. But the Sydney casino licence is exclusive until 2019. So the Packer plan is to coerce Echo to allow a new casino to be built on the Plum Barangaroo site on Sydney Harbour, plus a new casino on Brisbane's waterfront. But how do you subdue an arch-rival with a market value of more than $3 billion?
His whole strategy here is to get control of Echo for the cheapest possible price.
$1 billion from the sale of Consolidated Media will boost his war chest. But the next big challenge is increasingly hostile critics who question the need for more casinos, or integrated resorts as James Packer prefers to call them, designed to attract Chinese tourists and save Australian tourism.
Chinese tourists like man-made attractions as well as natural attractions. So I think we need to have better hotels, better restaurants, better shopping.
The bread and butter of the casinos business is ordinary people from the suburbs who go in for a night out and unfortunately in many cases end up spending rather more than they can afford. But if you can somehow spin a story to suggest that in fact all this money is being lost in Australia by multimillionaires from China, well, it looks a lot better and it makes the governments feel a lot more relaxed.
China is a large gambling country. We're seeing more and more Chinese visitors. In March, 550,000 visits to Australian shores, 110,000 were Chinese.
It's always tourism. And just like the pokies say, well, it's really community benefit. There's always smokescreen arguments. I don't mind fleecing rich Chinese. However, the truth is that casinos very quickly turn from that promise of fleecing the rich to actually prey on the locals.
James Packer has met with both state premiers. Queensland's Campbell Newman has said he'd welcome a new casino in Brisbane, as would Barry O'Farrell in Sydney.
In relation to Mr Packer's proposal, clearly what I'd like is not only a world-class hotel to be built in Sydney, we are without one, but secondly, if possible, to grow our tourism through that high-dollar gaming tourism.
With billion-dollar turnovers, casinos pay an effective tax rate of around 17%, according to the Productivity Commission. And state governments love the revenues and jobs they can deliver.
You know, at Crown, we employ 10,000 people. In Melbourne, 10,000 people, roughly.
But it remains a political minefield. And if former State Premier Jeff Kennett can't help James Packer through that, there's ample other hired help at hand. Former Liberal Senator Helen Coonan is on Crown's board, and some of the best backroom boys in the business are on the payroll, like former New South Wales Labor Senator Mark Arbib and former ALP National Secretary Carl Batar. Neither would be interviewed.
They know how to play the game, they've got a lot of money at stake. Their capacity to influence government is very profound. It's right up there with big tobacco.
Just as James Packer was throwing his weight around at Echo and flexing his muscles with government, a bigger global casino Goliath, Genting, emerged to launch its own raid on Echo's share register, led by Malaysian gambling mogul KT Lim.
What is more important to us is talk less and do more.
Mr Lim has now also applied to raise his stake in Echo beyond 10%.
At the moment, I think we'd have to favour Crown. People who've already passed probity tests in Australia do have an advantage, and of course that means that Crown at this stage has a leg up on Genting.
But KT Lim is a very astute gambler and shouldn't be ruled out of this race. For all his connections, James Packer is now locked in a multi-billion-dollar poker game that is set to shake the Australian casino sector and shape the future fortunes of the Packer family.
Greg Hoy reporting.